face to her
I see some
boyfriend,
kids on-
all kinds of ridiculous
I
poses.
see some kids on Facebook, which my granddaughter's not on that.
Yeah.
Because you have to be, I think, 16 or 18.
Well, or you lie by your age.
Yeah, well, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But their parents know they're doing it, I mean,
Yeah. All right, so we have Facebook, Snapchat. What else are they doing on there? Instagram.
TikTok.
TikTok.
I have a really good example of what they're doing. This is what a boy posted today. Whoever this Murray, remember my name is Miss Murray, whoever this Murray airhead of in blank blank assistant principal we got at Pano needs to go. That's from today. I was like, this is my first year as the assistant principal. I said, I think this makes me official now, right?
All right, so that person's parents might not have judged really well about whether they were ready for that phone.
Yeah.
All right, you missed the number one thing kids are doing on their phones. No, text, no, apps. It's an app.
Oh, I have it on my phone, my granddaughter, I think it might be Discord? That's an app.
No, you're just blanking. It's YouTube.
That comes on your phone automatically if you have an iPhone.
Does it?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so we can see things are changing a little bit. Facebook is, the only things to really pay attention to here. Facebook dropping off. My daughter tells me all the time, Facebook is for old people. Yep, that's why I'm on it. Each. That's my daughter. Okay, so Snapchat 59%, Instagram 62%, TikTok 67%, and YouTube 95% of kids say they use those. So, all right, here's our top 4, just so we know what they're doing. These are some old stats. I suspect that it's even increased, but it gives us a little bit of a sense. So kids are scrolling 3. I also read something recently that said 5 hours a day. That is a lot of time. Do you know what I could do with 5 hours? Do you know how many loads of laundry, trips to the grocery store? Like, I could really get lots of stuff done in 5 hours. And then 80% say, yes, I am doing what is known as social comparisons. I'm comparing myself to other people. So I look, I'm making judgments. Is this being recorded?
Yeah. We think it's being recorded.
Pause.
What?
Pause for this portion.
Yeah, pause for this. No, I'm
Maybe
kidding.
we should have like
I'm
a
kidding.
point
No,
where we
it's
just
all
have
good.
it recorded.
This is kind of like group support, a support group here. I am only on Facebook. Well, I do have Snapchat, and I sometimes snap my daughter, but only like in a joking, very fun way. So I find that I'm extremely judgy about what people choose to post, because I kind of look at it a little bit like a researcher, like just like speechless sometimes when I look at it. So we can't even like help but do that. It's sort of, I don't know, it must be something kind of innate to who we somehow are like passing judgment. I hope that's not innate. That's a terrible thing. But kids are doing it. So they're looking, how do other people appear? How am I measuring up?
Well, in essence, it's a form of bragging, regardless of how you look at it, right?
It's
a form of bragging. Everything you post is a form of bragging, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes,
interpreted
yes.
that way.
See, you can be my friend, because that's how I feel about it. I'm like, is this for show? Like, I don't know, it's very hard for me, and it brings out a bad part of me. So I recently had my daughter limit my Facebook to 15 minutes a day, which is really too much.
How do you do that?
Anyway, because I see that it's bringing out something bad in me, and so, well, we'll get to this later, but every once in a while I find something really good on Facebook. Usually it has nothing to do with anyone who's one of my friends, but like, oh, down the street, the road is closed. And I tell my husband, like, don't go that way, the road's closed. I just read it on our town group, post on Facebook. So every once in a while you find this really good nugget which keeps you going back for more. But then it also brings out the worst side of myself. So yeah, I agree, it's bragging, for sure. All right, and 25% say that they need photo editing. And by that I mean, I had to make it fit there, but they're saying, I can't post something without editing it. I must change the way that I look to make myself look more presentable before I can put it up and put it out there. And I do know too that young women will take 5 to 7 photos before they find the one that they're gonna post. And Kim Kardashian said it's actually more like 20, but who's listening to her? All right, so what's too much time on your phone? It really depends. There's a lot of things to consider. You have to take the child into consideration because some kids are using it responsibly, and I don't know what that means. We can talk more about that a little bit later, I think, but it really depends. So it depends on the child. I think using it responsibly, especially using social media responsibly, means I'm not getting my validation from this phone. I think that's at least a part of what responsible use looks like. It depends on what app or game you're using. So if you have a child who's using Headspace or meditation app or maps, you know, I'm not so concerned about that. But if they're spending lots of time on YouTube or TikTok, I'm a little bit more concerned. It also depends on their ability to regulate their use. So do they get on there? That's why I put that. I asked my daughter, I'm like, I fall down the rabbit hole on Facebook, man. It just keeps coming, and then they're putting those ads in there, and then you can't get to your friends, and you can't find out that the road is closed because there's all this other crap in there. And so I'm like, half an hour goes by, and I've wasted a half an hour of my day, and who wants to waste a half an hour? So anyway, my daughter's like, you can stop that. I'm like, really? How? Give me your phone. She sets it all up, so now 15 minutes is like, you're out of time. But there's also a little button that says you can have like 1 more minute, or you can disband it for the day. Like, don't even give me that. Just tell me, like, your time's up, done. Because sometimes I do press that, like, I'm not done scrolling. So the characteristics of the child matter. There's some research that suggests that kids with ADHD have a much more difficult time sort of managing their use, particularly like with video game playing, but also the same is true of scrolling. It's very rewarding and difficult for kids with ADHD to sort of stop, put a pause on their use. And also, social media in particular is dangerous for kids with anxiety and depression, particularly girls, because of those social comparisons. So girls are super vulnerable to the social comparisons, less so boys. Girls are already more likely to be anxious and depressed to begin with, and now they have the compounding nature of social comparisons, so it's even worse. Yeah.
I've also found that there are some formats in social media where it might seem like it's going to be a support group, like people who struggle with depression, and you think you're gonna make a connection and feel like, oh, I'm not the only person, but it's a very dark forum and it positively reinforces the unhealthy strategy. So if someone posts a picture of their cut and someone's like, oh wow, look at how deep that cut is, or if someone posts a picture of them, significantly underweight, someone will say, oh wow, look at how skinny you got.
Exactly.
And
so
reinforces that.
On YouTube, something like 70% of what's watched is what's recommended. So you go in there to watch one thing, and then there's all those recommendations, and then you stay, and 70% of what you're watching isn't what you went in there for.
Is an algorithm on what you're
Yes.
looking at.
Exactly.
And then it can take small portions of that.
Exactly, and not only is it an algorithm for that, but it becomes more and more extreme. So the algorithm makes the suggestion more and more and more extreme. So that if you are somebody who's interested in something with eating disorders, and then it just becomes more and more extreme, or some political belief, and you're reading about a particular political belief, your recommendations, you keep watching them, you keep going down that path to more extreme views of whatever that is. There's good research suggesting that that's what happens. That's how I think you end up in porn too.
Yeah, I think like YouTube was like the originator of that, but TikTok and Reels on Instagram it's so fast. I've talked a lot with my kids about how quickly you go from just a little nugget, like you see something that's funny or interesting, and it goes so extreme so fast, and it could even go into the opposite direction of what you were interested in the first place.
I've even read stories about the feed indicating to the user that they were gay. And they were like, am I gay? Oh my gosh. My feed knew I was gay before I knew I was gay. So, I mean, it's really amazing. It's incredible from a sort of science perspective, but it's also incredibly frightening. It's super upsetting to me that I can't shop for shoes, and then, of course it knows I shop for shoes, and I'm getting all these ads for shoes, and it's influencing my behavior, and I don't want my behavior to be influenced. I didn't ask for that. I don't want those ads, because I know those ads, are showing me things that are changing my tastes and making me more likely to buy the shoes that maybe I was just checking out for who knows what reason. And it's influencing my behavior. And then I might go on and buy those shoes or more extreme shoes before, and I didn't want to do that.
Don't you think television does the same thing?
Exactly.
Television is the precursor to the internet, right?
Yeah.
So
But
now,
it
if
couldn't
you watch,
control us
if you watch,
as much
if you
because it
watch-
wasn't changing its feed, and we were all getting the same thing. But so it's
but
scary.
along those lines that you're saying that they're manipulating what you're watching.
Yep.
Nowadays, if you watch mainstream television, there's such a pressure to be gay, or
Skinny or fat or
you
fat.
say men on men, women on women, or whatever that demographic is a huge uprising in that
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know whether
Because that's
that's
an agenda, right?
people just, I don't think it's an agenda. I think that there's probably people who have hidden
Me too,
that for a
right.
long time, and they are just free to be who they are now. And I don't know, maybe there's a few who, are like, wow, that's great, let me try it on for size and see how it fits.
I know what you're saying, there's a lot of TV shows where they have gay couples
Oh,
or
absolutely.
trans people and stuff.
It's
A lot of shows I watch,
It's on the
there are
line.
people like that.
Yeah.
You're
It
right.
seems like there's a huge pressure on mainstream television and NBC and ABC to
Yeah.
really push that in the
Right.
forefront.
Well, that means that's what people want to watch.
Hmm?
That's what people want to watch. You get what people want to
Bud Light
watch.
also felt that was the demographic, already putting the trans on a can, and then it backfired on them.
What was that?
Bud Light,
Bud Light put
Oh,
a
Bud
transgender woman
Kids on
and
a
they
can.
lost like $2 billion
Yeah.
market share in a week.
I missed that.
but you know what, Facebook does that too. If you go on something, I went on something I liked on Facebook, and then I'm getting all these ads, so when they come up on my phone, I just delete them, because
Yeah.
I'm too old to be looking at that stuff.
I know. What's even scarier is sometimes I can remember. Now this is an odd thing, but my brother told me that he was eating a Scotch egg. Do you know what a Scotch egg is? No, it's a really random thing. Well, anyway, it's a hard-boiled egg that is covered with sausage or some kind of meat, it's encased in the meat. Anyway, it's a Scotch egg. Nobody's heard of one. And I was talking to him about the Scotch egg, and then honest to God, that day or the next day, I got a recipe for a Scotch egg in my email. I'm like, how does that even happen?
You have an Alexa?
I did.
Your phone, just like the Alexa, is listening 24 hours a
I
day.
know. Well, of course, your phone. I mean, even if I didn't have
All
an
you
Alexa,
say
your
is,
phone
hey.
is listening
Of course it-
because
you
she's
say, "Hey,
always
Siri."
at the ready.
Right? You say, hey Siri, so obviously it's listening.
Exactly. Always listening. Yeah, it's frightening. Anyway. All right, so if you're trying to decide if a child is on their phone too much, I think the best way to judge whether they are or not is by looking at indices of wellness. Are they getting sufficient sleep? Are they exercising? Are they doing well in school, or are they falling behind? Are they spending time engaged with friends and family? Do they have hobbies? If the answer to all of that is yes, and they spend a lot of time on the phone, they're probably okay. Because this is the stuff of life. If you're doing this engagement in life and you have some kind of time left over to be on the phone, you're probably okay. Honestly, if you're doing all of this, you probably don't have that much time left over to be on your phone. So 54% of teens say it would be hard to give up social media. So more than half, no, couldn't do it, it'd be super hard. I also just heard recently, well, actually, I think it's coming up in a video, so I won't say it because I think it's in the video. All right, so hard to give up social media. You know, it's tricky because it's such a source of connection for them. And they are at an age, teens are at an age where those peer relationships are so incredibly important. And so to take their phone away is to strip them of those very developmentally important connections. It's a little bit of a catch-22 because is it really a high-quality connection? Not really, but it is a connection, and it might be the only or the primary connection that some kids have. So it really kind of makes it tricky when, you know, your teen is like, but you're taking away my ability to communicate with my friends. Yeah, you are. But also, you are probably doing it with the idea that let's get some real connections here, not these more artificial, distant, over-screen connections. All right, so kids say it's hard. How many of you are worried? I kind of already know this, we sort of talked about this at the at the beginning, but I'm assuming that many of you are kind of worried about maybe your own use. I'm kind of worried about my own use, and I'm worried about my kids' use. That's concerning to me. So we're worried, but don't worry. Our kids, they don't think we're worried. So only a minority, so fewer than half of teens say their parents are extremely or very worried. So where is this disconnect? The kids, they don't want to give it up, and I guess there isn't a disconnect. The disconnect is between the child and the parent. So the child doesn't want to give it up, and they don't really think you're too bothered by it either. But we are. All right, so there's a lot of potential for conflict. Kids are like, technology's amazing, it's so cool. And parents like, I'm afraid too much time is being spent on the phone or social media. Kids are like, I'm making new friends. If you take away my phone, I have no friends. I don't know who you're talking to. Do you know who you're talking to? You don't even know. You think you know, but do you really know? I'm good at gaming. I'm good at making videos. Well, your schoolwork is lagging. I can't buy you more games. You know, and the trick is that in the case of video gaming, and I'm not going to talk too much about that, but that is sort of part of this tech culture, and kids certainly can get addicted to that. You know, in the kids that I have treated, and it's not many, I specialize in anxiety, not gaming disorder, but I did see one kid, and you know, the difficult thing was he was so good at it. He was so good at it, and he got all kinds of social rewards from his online gaming community, that to ask him to give that up was like asking, you know, a champion horseback rider to stop riding, or an artist who wins awards to not have their show. So it's really tricky because, you know, we want kids to feel like they're really good at something. And, you know, I think you got to start early. I'm waiting for some school to invite me to your kindergarten or even registration, because I want to start with parents early. I'd really go into the delivery room if they'd let me, because that's when you need to sort of start building some of this stuff.
So
Yeah.
this is like, so when my son was younger, you know, I asked him, what do we want to be when he grows up? And at first he was telling us at preschool, I want to work in a museum. I'm like, why? He goes, I want to be in charge of all the diamonds. And I'm like, okay, pretty impressive. And then I'm like, a few years later, and I said, well, what do you want to be now? He says, I want to be a YouTuber. I go, that's not a job. That's not a real job. You can't be a YouTuber. And then I thought about it now lately. I'm like, YouTubers are making millions and millions of dollars. Maybe I'm wrong and he should look into that. But then I'm like, I'm so scared about this whole YouTube and, you know, I think he's a well-balanced kid, he's in sports, and he's in, you know,
That's-
free time with his cell phone, but I'm like, it's just a scary world
It
to
is.
figure out
Yeah.
how.
He's
what-
just gotta have a backup plan.
Yeah.
You know, I think that, so if he wants to be a YouTuber, yeah, go for it. But also pursue this too.
Right,
You know,
right.
I mean, everybody should have more than just one thing because, you know,
Failure is
diversity
always
is
an
always
option.
better. What?
Failure is always an option.
Well, yeah, it is. But you know, that's another thing. Failure feeds into this whole social media thing. Like, you have to put up the perfect picture, right? So you take 20 pictures to post one. That's because you don't want to fail. Or you take down posts that didn't get enough likes because it failed. You know, we are not teaching kids how to fail. Like, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, I sort of sit, I don't know, this is oversharing too, but when I spend time with my 80-year-old parents, they're from a generation where they, or maybe it's not the generation, maybe it's just my parents. Gosh, I hope they never watch this. Where they like will automatically comment on people's physical appearance. I'm like, you can't do that anymore, Dad. Dad, you can't. And he might be saying something really nice, but I don't care. Like, no, bodies are off limits. No comments on bodies, please. I forget where I'm going with this. We're not teaching people to fail. Oh, something about my daughter. Something she did recently.
It's been posting, she's in what she
No, it was something she was telling me. It was something I was concerned about my appearance. Oh, I know what it was. So she's snapping. She's taking these snap pictures like up her nose and in her mouth, and I'm like, that was the worst looking. Why would you? She's only sending it to her boyfriend, but still, I'm like, I don't think he wants to see that. And part of me is like, that's body judging. You know, I'm judging, like, you don't look beautiful in that picture. And she's like, it's all good, Mom. And I'm like, dang, that's good. She's doing better than I am because I'm like, you can't send out something ugly. Well, she does. Good for her. But most kids don't. She's not much of a social media.
I think there's a huge pressure in somebody else taking a picture of you in a precarious situation and then uploading that. Then people laughing at it, or it gets to
Yes.
school,
Yes.
forwarded, texted. That
Yes.
becomes
Yeah.
a
Super
big situation.
humiliating and
Yeah.
embarrassing.
That-
I'm
that's a
pretty
big
sure
problem.
maybe like there are people who died from
Oh,
that, like
absolutely.
committed suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is really, I mean, it is very interesting, and
Died by suicide.
I've noticed recently with a lot of the middle schoolers that I work with, there's this very popular thing of finding old like yearbook pictures of their friends, like putting them up and like embarrassing, like, look at this picture of you, you know? But all of these kids, their parents have been posting pictures of them their whole lives, you know, uncurated. So that's gonna, you know, they're kind of like using that media background to tease each other.
Yeah.
One of the ways that I see the conflict, it's differing skill sets with technology. I don't think it's like a all or nothing, like the kids are on all and the adults are on no. Like when I think about school, the teachers, they're kind of the experts in Canvas and like Google Drives and how to keep those organized, and in like Kahoots and like IXL. The kids are the experts in the TikTok and the Instagram and the Snapchat. And sometimes we assume because they're so good at that they're good at the other thing, the school stuff, and they're not. And the adults have to like remember too, like, no, you're not proficient in technology. Like, you know how to use it for work and technology and to help you. Most kids are not setting alarms or reminders for their
They're
homework.
not even using calendars.
They're not,
Oh,
exactly.
Although I would disagree with that a little, Michelle, because one of the things that families I've worked with have had a hard time taking away the phone from kids or like limiting is because they're using their phone, like we said, for so many reasons. So they're getting their, like all the sports teams you're on now go through an app. So you don't know when your game is. Like even here with school sports,
Yes.
my kids get their alert through the app. They get their you know, they get their assignments sometimes through, they're in groups via their phones.
Yeah.
So, in my house just recently, we like bought everyone alarm clocks because we noticed, well, they're using their phone as their alarm clocks, and so then their phone is right there, right next to them, so they're picking it up at night. And my kids were like, "A what? An alarm clock? What?
What is this thing?
What is it?
How do you read a clock? All right, so I think, you know, there's great potential for conflict, especially as you're coming in to say, you gotta limit your use, or I'm concerned about your use. And I really think that all of those conversations have to begin, and this is kind of a no-brainer, on a foundation of trust and respect. So you presume that your child is trustworthy, because every child deserves to believe that you trust them. At least at the start, we've got to begin there. And I also think there's a number of other things that we need to teach our kids how to. These are sort of skills, I think, that ward off the evils of technology. So learning how to be alone. I mean, I can't even do it anymore. I go into the doctor's office, I sit down, and I whip out my phone, start planning my grocery list, or scrolling, or checking my email. And I think to myself, well, I never used to do that. I used to just like sit down and be with my thoughts, be with myself. And I think that's a really important skill. I can remember, you know, way back before phones, my sister was little, and she said to my mom, and it's kind of became this family story. She was like, she was like 3. I just need some time to think. And I'm like, yeah, everybody needs some time to think, but we don't have it anymore. Kids need to be able to sit with discomfort. So we're in the middle of this climate of over-parenting, where parents are sort of getting ahead of their child to remove anything distressing so the child can live this joyful, carefree life without challenges, except that those challenges will undoubtedly arise, and then your child is left like, I don't know what to do here. So we have to let kids figure some things out, and being able to, we have to teach them how to solve problems, and we have to let them be a little bit uncomfortable, because that's a skill. They need to be able to entertain themselves without the phone, right, like we used to, when we, I don't know, just daydream. Do people daydream anymore? I don't know. Does anybody daydream anymore?
I do.
Yeah, I wonder if, I have to ask my daughter, like, do you daydream? Maybe they don't do that, unless you're like in class and you can't whip out your phone, so maybe you daydream then. Probably. They need to be ready to face challenges. They need to know how to connect with others, like in the flesh, in person. Just interestingly, so I'm the director of a graduate program at URI, and I had a student who told me, a grad student, who told me that she hasn't seen her major professor in person this entire academic year. They've met, like, nearly weekly, but she hasn't seen her in person. It's like, whoa, oh, like, what is happening? What is happening? Okay, and then I think, I can't remember if I said this before, they've got to find validation outside of technology. Like, you can't rely on the number of likes you got to make you feel great. You have to feel great for something that has nothing to do with social media, and you can get it without your phone. And I would say, parents, you are in charge of that. You know, you in part need to be helping your child to find the areas that they're good at. You need to be complimenting and looking for the good in your child and pointing it out when it happens, so they're getting that validation and they don't have to get it all that rewarding good stuff that makes you feel great. We don't want them to just find it in their phone. So what can you do? So we're going to start getting a little practical here. Talk with your kids about what's appropriate and what's not. Here's what I expect, you'll do. Here's what is totally not okay, like no naked pictures, no pictures in underwear, not okay. Here's why. My dad is a lawyer, and when I was growing up, he always said to us, don't write anything in a letter that you don't want to see on the front page of the New York Times. And then there was, my sister is 13 years younger than I am, so a big age gap. And so with her, she was in, the era of email, and so then he changed it, don't type anything in your email that you don't want to see on the front page of the New York Times. And now with my kids, his grandkids, don't type anything in your phone that you don't want to see on the front page of the New York Times. And I think that's a good test. I often, like, if I'm writing something, maybe I'm angry or something, who knows, I'm like, what if that was on the front page of the New York Times? It's a good test. And sit down with your kids and go through your friends' accounts, see what they're posting. Some of it is shocking. One of my daughter's friends posted like a Charlie's Angels pose with a real gun. Suspended, of course. And she was just like, didn't really appreciate like the significance of what she had done and why that was bad. Because nobody was like, look, don't take pictures of yourself with a gun and then post it on social media, because that's really not good no matter how cute you look in your Charlie's Angel pose. So talk about like what's okay and what's not okay, and look through your friend's photo, your child's friends' accounts with your child. Engage with your child on the app or the game. So this is what I did with Snapchat. I had a blast. I definitely have deepened my relationship with my daughter, believe it or not, through Snapchat, because that is just so gosh darn hilarious. I don't really have a sense of humor, but somehow on Snapchat I can concoct the funniest things with stickers and filters. It's hilarious. You should try it. But anyway, I do that sparingly, and we both really laugh about it, and it's great fun. So know what your child's doing. I did that because I'm like, what is Snapchat all about? I don't really get it. Like, why would you send like these short little, why don't you just send a text to your boyfriend? Why are you snapping a picture of your face and then writing a text on it? I still don't really get it, but whatever. So yeah, you gotta begin with trust. You say, I trust you. I'm gonna give you a little bit of lead here, like, leash. Leash isn't really the right term, but I'm gonna give you a little rope, and I'm trusting you, and I'm gonna be keeping a close eye on what you're doing. Friend your children, but don't spy on them. So it is really not good for trust and parenting to say, give me your phone, I'm scrolling through it, I'm going to check everything. There might come a point in time when maybe you have to do that to protect and save your child, but at the start, definitely not good. Not good for the relationship. That relationship is key. That is the most important thing, because that relationship with your child is going to be what enables you to really talk about social media and both together set limits on your technology use. You always want to be calm, not angry. So yeah, anger never works. It disrupts relationships. We don't want disrupted relationships. We want connections with our kids, because that is where we as parents are going to be the most influential. Teach your kid about privacy controls. Make sure they understand about what is public and what is private, and how to change those settings. Go in the app, talk with them about that, because that's hugely important. And don't make screens the reward. I know a lot of parents who do this, but once you make something that reward, like if you take out the trash, you get extra screen time. Then you've just made screen time all the more desirable. Like it is even more reinforcing because you made it a reward. And we just don't want to give it that power.
I think one of the basic reasons why the kids and people of today like Snap so much is because usually it disappears.
Yes.
And you can see if somebody screenshotted it on you.
Right. Well, I think originally that was what it was for. It was for
Right.
sending,
Silly
sexy
stuff, yes.
pictures that you wanted to disappear, and then Snapchat got a little bit savvy, and so now, I don't know. My daughter's 17. In those circles, I don't see it being used for that anymore. It's taken a life of its own. And it's just the in thing. And we can see, there was Facebook for a while. That never really took hold with the young group, but now it's even like way out, and like Be Real's on its way down. but Snapchat still holds strong.
What do you think about forming a fake account and friending your child? That way, they'll always accept it. They probably accept
Yeah,
everybody,
yeah.
9 out of 10. And that way you get to see their storyline.
Maybe, I don't know. It depends how worried you are. If you were very worried,
Just an
maybe
option I thought of.
I'd rather just say, hey, can you show me what you posted? You know, let's sit down, show me what you posted.
But if it already disappeared,
Well,
what
there's
does it
also-
show?
Oh, on Snapchat, you're saying. Are they snapping everyone, even the people they don't know? They're just distributing that snap to everyone? Probably not.
Groups. I know it happens in middle school. They
Yeah.
have groups.
Well, then you have the whole problem of the fake account. I mean, they can, fake you out, and I'll just have my, Finsta Instagram. So I don't know. I think there may be times when that's appropriate, but if you can get away with not doing that and just say, look, let's sit down, let's have a look, let's talk about this stuff, all about it. So this is a really interesting study, the brain drain. The mere presence of one's own smartphone reduces available cognitive capacity. So, how much memory you have or how much fluid intelligence you have at any moment is influenced by where your smartphone is. So you are working at a deficit right now if you've got your phone with you. If you left it at the door, you're doing a little better. If you left it at home, you're super smart. I don't know if you can read this here. This is if you're sitting at your desk and your iPhone is at your desk. Here it's in your bag, so your your working memory is a little bit better, but if it's in another room, even better. So this is like, imagine a kid doing homework. I mean, in this study, they were doing some tasks, memory tasks. Same thing here with fluid intelligence. It's not so great with the desk. Gets a little bit better if it's in your pocket or bag, but best if it's out of the room. So it's real clear what this means. I don't even need this next slide. Keep your phones out of the bedroom at night. Keep the phones away from the homework location. And buy an alarm clock. Yeah, you already got that.
I did see that.
And it's for the reason, mentioned. You don't want the phone right next to the bed. But ask me where my phone is when I go to bed.
Next to your bed.
Yeah, exactly. But I do not pick it up, and I have that lovely setting that shuts everything off from the time at night I wanted to the time in the morning, so it's not binging or lighting up or doing anything in the middle of the night, which my husband's is, which is very distracting.
I had a student the other day, didn't believe me that we used to remember people's numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
They were like, literally didn't believe me.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, so all of this technology is on a variable reward schedule, which means sometimes you get the thing you want and sometimes you don't. It creates the highest levels of responding. So I was a psychology major in college, and one of the things that we did in our psychology labs was we had a little mouse, we put him in a box, and your job is to try to get the mouse to press this bar. Well, mice, it was a rat actually, it was a white rat. Rats don't, it doesn't matter, you could have done it with mice too, but they don't naturally press bars, but they would eventually, they would accidentally press the bar and it would send a little pellet of food down, and the rat was food deprived, so it was hungry. So it accidentally presses the bar one day, the food comes down, and then the rat eats it, and then they pretty quickly learn, like, oh, press the bar, eat the food, press the bar, eat the food. That is not a variable reward schedule, that is fixed. Every time I press the bar, I get a reward. And so this is exactly what they look like when they do it. I can embarrass myself again, I'm really good at this. Hope my kids don't ever watch this because I'm in trouble. They press the bar, then the food hopper's right here, and then they eat the food. And they press the bar, and this is about how fast they go. Even though they're starving because they haven't gotten food. Then sometimes you can do a variable interval on that bar. You can change it so that they press the bar but no food comes out. And they press the bar and no food comes out, and they press, and then one time, but you never know when it's gonna happen, the food comes out. You know what those rats look like when they're pressing that bar? Like, they are pressing it so fast. That is variable reward schedule, because they don't know when that food's coming out, so I just gotta keep going down, because one of these times is coming, I know it's coming. So anyway, would it surprise you that the apps that we use are set on this reinforcement schedule? Because it creates the highest levels of responding. So they want you picking up that phone, going into that app, going back over and over again. So you know what else is on a variable reward schedule?
Casinos.
Yep, slot machines. So, yeah, same thing. That's why, people, I don't even go into the casinos, even though I live really close to one, because I don't like when things control my behavior. I want to be in control of it. And I know that variable ratio, is going to get my responding super high. All right, so another thing that phones do that bring you back is these notifications, right? So, there'll be somebody tagged you in the photo. So this is what our kids are getting. Somebody tagged you in a photo 1 minute ago. Imagine your child gets that. How many seconds happen until they go in, who posted a photo of me? What does it look like? Am I gonna be embarrassed? Did other people comment on it? Did they like it? What's happening? Like, they are in there like that. Right away. So these phones, apps, all of this media designed to be as addictive as possible. They want to draw us back, draw us back, draw us back. Do you think your kids know that? Like, that is offensive to me. I want to be like, no, you cannot have the control of my behavior because it's mine. But I don't think our kids know this. They're just clued. They think they're in perfect control. So I like the idea of introducing this notion. Like, let's just talk about these app developers and what they're doing, and are you really in control or not? Anyway, I want you to look at this. Is this distressing?
Notifications.
It makes you anxious. Sure does. Why? Oh, it does make you anxious? No, but it's designed to make you anxious. Yeah. Why is it designed to make you anxious? I mean, what is it like?
The notifications.
Yeah, like you miss 12 plus phone calls. And the notification is in red. So we know red means stop, alarm, fire, emergency is red. They're red for a reason. Because what if your phone looked like this? It's kind of calming, right? Not so alarming. You don't barely even notice you missed 12 calls. All right, so phones are designed to keep them coming back. You all know what streaks are, right? Streaks, I find them to be so incredibly ridiculous because I see my daughter keeping up her streaks. Like, I don't even know if I gotta ask her if she's still doing it now, but like last year, she'd be like, I gotta just take care of my streaks. What a freaking waste of time. What is a streak?
I don't know.
Oh, what is a streak?
What is a streak?
So if you send a Snapchat to the same person every single day, you get a streak going, and it tells you how many days you have. So I don't know, 328. You're on. I don't even know if it's that or 4 weeks. I think it's the 328 is your streak. So you have to do it every single day because if you don't, you break your streak, and that's like offensive to your friend. Because you broke the streak. You can't break the streak. And then there's Be Real. Are you familiar with Be Real? I've heard recently this is sort of dropping out, but Be Real sends a notification once a day, and you have 2 minutes to take a photo of the front of your camera. You hold up your camera, you take your front, and then you take a picture with the back, so that there are 2 photos. So here you can see this person, here's the front of them, and here's what they're doing in the back. They're on a ski slope. And you have 2 minutes, and you don't want to miss the Be Real. So I saw this in action. My daughter has her boyfriend over, they're on the couch watching a TV show. All of a sudden there's like some disruption, they're whipping out their phones, and you can't just take any picture, like it has to you have to look like you're doing something fun. So anyway, then they're taking the front photo and the back photo so they can make the Be Real in 2 minutes. Like imagine if you're like in the middle, and it could go off at any time. Imagine you're in the middle of a test, you're walking down the hallway, you're driving, God forbid. But you don't want to miss the Be Real. All right, so this is Max Stossel. He's a really, really interesting guy. He's kind of a poet. He also started off, I hope I'm not being redundant because he might start off talking about this. He was an app developer, and his job was to make sure that you were addicted to your app. And then he was like, this isn't really sitting well with me. I don't really like this. And then he kind of left and is now saying, technology needs to be humane. We need to use it for good. Like, this is ridiculous. We need to use it for good. But here he's talking to some high school students.
Hands, give me whole hands if you have Snapchat. If you use Snapchat, give me your whole hands, please.
He's
Keep your
asking
hands
how many
high.
people have
If someone has a
Snapchat.
streak going, any streaks going. Keep your hands high if you like streaks. Isn't that interesting? Isn't it wild that so many of us are doing something that we don't actually like doing? And by this point in the presentation, you can probably guess that the people at Snapchat are not waking up in the morning and saying, how can I create the most meaningful friendships and relationships between teenagers today? Streaks are a really powerful tool at getting us to come back and use the app every day. But something strange starts to happen, right? It starts to feel like, ooh, if I don't have streaks going with this person, are we really friends? Or like, ooh, if I don't have streaks with enough people or the right people, am I popular? Am I socially doing okay in school? It starts to feel like it has this very real impact on our lives, even though it was created by people who look like me in California and has nothing to do with our actual friendships. But it starts to feel very, very real. I have a friend who works at a psychiatric hospital, and she talks about how when teenagers are checking in, they're terrified to give their phones away because they cannot end their streaks. It would be the end of the world for them to end their streaks. WhatsApp is just as easy to send messages back and forth. We don't need to be entering into these environments, but it starts to feel like a very real measure of our friendships, and probably shouldn't. And actually, quickly, give me a show of hands if you've ever taken a picture of a wall or something ridiculous just to keep a streak going. Please give me honesty. Give me honesty. What are we doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing?
My 2 sons, for a while, had a streak that was like lasting a year, and my older son broke the streak. And it was like an insult to his younger brother. I mean, we kind of laughed about it, but it was a streak for over a year of them, sending some message back and forth as if that's some indicator of, I don't know, good brotherliness or something. So interesting, I think he raises a really good point here, which is, why are we using these apps that make us feel bad? I know I don't like being judgmental, and Facebook makes me feel bad, except for that one time I get that food pellet when there's some important notice on there or something that's really great. But I know that Facebook makes me feel bad, but yet I do it. It's so curious. So what apps make us happy? Google Calendar, Headspace, another Insight Timer, it's a meditation app. Finding out about the weather, MyFitnessPal, Audible, listening to books, traffic, Waze, Amazon Music, and yet, we get Candy Crush Saga. Who doesn't love to play that? But it makes us feel really crappy. It's just a curious thing. It is the power of addiction and the smartness of those gosh dang app developers. So I think we need to ask ourselves, but also ask our kids to ask themselves, what thought or feeling led you to pick up your device? Why did you pick it up? As you scroll through your feed, what kind of thoughts come up? What kind of emotions come up? What happens to your breathing? Are you getting distressed? Is your heart beating fast? Are you feeling upset? Because I think that if we look again at young women in particular who are tracking how they're feeling as they're scrolling through their social media feeds, they would detect that they weren't feeling great. And we need them to sort of find that out. So I wanted to go back to this just for a second because it makes us all anxious, but if it does, did you know you can do this? And you can set your phone to grayscale, because who wants to pick that thing up? That is the least exciting thing, right? A big gray nothing. Now this, exciting, boring. So you can set that, and if you tap 3 times, you can return it to color. So you can go into settings and set it to grayscale if you want. My sister actually has a similar box. She locks her phone away. You set a time on it, and there is nothing you can do to get the phone out of the box. You can't call anybody. You can't, if you set that for 3 hours, it's in there in 3 hours. There's no getting it out. That's it. So when she has work to do, and she does not want to be distracted by her phone, she apparently has absolutely no impulse control. So she locks her phone in that box, and then she can't use it even if she wants to. Not that I'm recommending that, it's kind of humorous, and it's really a sign of the times. Have we become that unable to control our own behavior that we have to lock our phone away? All right, so you can turn off those notifications. That's a great place to start. You know, if you have a kid who doesn't want to give up their phone, maybe they'd be willing to turn off the notifications. Or maybe you and I don't ever allow notifications, to be honest, but you might want to turn them off, or maybe you already did. And then another thing I think that we need to do, in particular for kids, but maybe for ourselves, is know, well, if I'm not on my phone, do I know how to entertain myself? Do I know what I'm going to do? It's probably more relevant for kids, because as parents, like, I am so okay to do absolutely nothing. Like, I could do nothing for a good half an hour before I get antsy, because it's so rare, right? When you have like a moment to yourself, that's the greatest thing. But our kids, they don't know what to do with the moment to themselves. So we might want to have a list of options. Here's what you can do. Here's what kids in the olden days used to do when they didn't have phones. They played outside, they went for a walk, they listened to music, they got on their bike and they rode around the block, or whatever it is. You might want to have a list, and if you're not good at coming up with lists, you can go to gamequitters.com hobby tool, where you can select the kinds of activities you like, and it gives you a list of activities. So particularly for younger kids, it's probably good to have, like, here's a list of things that you can do. One of my daughter's most favorite memories is one day I was at work, and she was at home, and I knew that I was going to be back in time to do something with her. I work a lot, so she was younger. She really wanted to do something with me, and I left her a list. Here are all the things we can do together. Check the ones that you want to do, and I made this list, and I put these boxes. She's 17, she's still talking about that. That, like, I made this little piece of paper, and she got to check off the things she wanted to do. So make your piece of paper, check it out. Maybe some of these activities actually even involve you. Wouldn't that be great? That would be fun. All right, so these are a few young men and women. Instagram was making me hate myself and made me want to become someone I wasn't. TikTok had started recommending weight loss videos and what I eat in a day videos for my For You page. We already talked about that. If that anonymous keeps following that, you know, the longer they're on there, the more extreme those videos will become. I really struggled when I looked in the mirror after joining social media. I'm too fat, or I have ugly features, or my neck is too long, or my hair doesn't frame my face correctly. So again, lots of social contrast, a lot of self-esteem, depression, not a good feel. I got addicted, always checking my phone, obsessed with keeping my streaks, worrying that somebody needed my attention 24/7. So again, I put these up. They're all illustrating points we've already talked about, but they have an impact because they're from real people who are struggling. I became obsessed with living what social media promotes as a worthwhile and perfect life. So, which we know is fake too. I mean, that's the crazy thing. So all of that social media feed isn't even real, right? They're enhanced, beautified pictures that people are now striving for this fake thing and not really kind of in the real world with the real themselves.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Are colleges or schools in general doing anything to strip the anxiety away from the child? Teach them in classes?
Doing anything to,
So having a class to strip them of the anxiety of not checking in and with the social media?
I mean,
Wouldn't that be something that we'd want to implement in school?
like
To teach them how to
have,
deal with?
like teach them how to put their phones away from the
Not
college
necessarily the phone, but
classroom?
we're talking about the anxiety of not
Yeah.
checking in and all that. Shouldn't we teach them in school or in college
Yeah.
how to
Yeah, we
deal with
should.
those pressures?
At URI, we have a class called
Wouldn't that
URI
precursor?
101, and there's lots of like how to adjust to school. I taught that like probably 10 years ago. There could possibly be some kind of like social media component in there, because it's all about like adjusting to college life. But yes, I think you're right, but I think we shouldn't wait till college. I think
No,
we,
I said,
oh,
yeah,
sorry.
either in school and in college or one or
Yes.
the other.
Yes, I think so. I mean, for me, it's super powerful to tell a kid, somebody's trying to like take control of you. Like someone, they're not your friend, the people who made this.
Instead of waiting for the child to develop this and then treat them prior and teach them about
Exactly.
why.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And how do you get somebody who's been doing this for a year or so to not do it anymore?
You know, as a first step, if you're talking about your granddaughter, as a first step, I would say, show me the joys of what you're doing. Show me. Have her share what she loves with you, because it's going to give you a better eye into what she enjoys. And then she's going to think, oh, well, she's not so against me. And then you can be like, well, what don't you like about it? Like, oh, I can see why that's fun. You know, are there parts that you don't like? You know, that's what we want her to begin to examine, that this is really great, but maybe there's a downside. And, you know, it's a difficult balance to get. I think you have to share your own struggle. Like, oh, I know, like my daughter knows, I scroll too much on Facebook. You know, so I'm in it with her. We're in it together. And together we have to beat the app developers at their own game. Like, we are not going to be controlled. Or we're going to make sure that we're using this responsibly. We're going to make sure that we're having all the fun and none of the negatives. And how do we do that? That's a whole lot different than, you can't have your phone now and you can only use your phone here. Kids aren't going to listen to that. You'll never have her on your side. But say, come over here, sit next to me and show me the joys of social media, because I don't get it.
I don't think she's on social media so much as just playing games or talking to friends.
Yeah, I would be like, you know, teach me, show me, join with her, because then you're in such a better position for her to listen to you, because she doesn't think you're out to get her or her phone or her apps, or you gotta join with them and learn, and then the two of you together figure out, okay, how are we gonna navigate this responsibly?
I think that can be so difficult for parents, because we're supposed to be the authority. And now we're kind of figuring this out with them, because this is pretty much new for us too, and we're struggling with our time on screens and things like that. So I think it
But I
creates
think
a
that's the
split.
good part of it. If you can present to your, you know, if you can present to your kid, I'm struggling with this too, but your kid doesn't think they're struggling. So, you know, that's tricky. You have to get them to see that maybe this isn't all it's cracked up to be, or maybe there are some downsides. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm running over. No problem. Thank you so much for participating.
I appreciate it.
You're not missing much, I'm almost to the end.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's tricky, but we have to have them believe that we're with them, and we're with them. So I just wanted to let you know about Bark. Bark is a really interesting thing. It does cost money, but what it does is it prevents you from having to scan your child's phone, because it is scanning it for issues like bullying, online predators, suicidal ideation, sexual content, and more. And if it identifies that in any of the social media feeds, the parents get an alert. so here's their ad, which I kind of like. It's very compelling. 5.9 million children covered by BARC. 629,000 severe self-harm situations detected, parents notified. 2.6 million severe bullying situations detected.
Do you have any experience with that yourself?
I do not.
Okay.
I know several parents who use it, and I think I've looked at it a lot, but don't own it. But I think it's a little expensive, but
I think it's $14.99 a month or $99 a year.
yeah, but I think the other good thing is that especially if you have multiple children, once you have it, you can like put it on. And all the parents, like, it basically just gives you the heads up, and they say that it's like very, very helpful. And a lot of them have not complained that they get like false, because you would think
That's what I was
because you
wondering.
kind of go down this rabbit hole that you would get like a ton. And I've asked specifically, and it doesn't seem like you get bombarded with,
Gotcha.
That would be scary.
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah, I think that was kind of or that parents would just ignore the alerts because they were getting so many.
Right.
It doesn't seem to be the case.
So there should be dedicated times and places where phones aren't permitted, not just for your kid, for you too. Like, you're in this together. All these rules apply, parents and kids together. Like the dinner table, bedroom, homework spot, no phones. Parents have to do the same thing. Share the struggle. I already talked about some of this. Talk about the impact of social media. What is it doing to you? What is it making you feel? Let's talk about what it's doing to young women in America. Let's talk about that. Share your understanding of the pros and cons. It's not all bad. You have to make sure that you are providing a balanced opinion, because that's going to make your child more likely to listen to you. Compare your helpful strategies and your pitfalls. Like, what, I share with my daughter, like, ooh, I do this to prevent myself from doing this bad thing on my phone. And she tells me what she does. And model responsible use. And include kids in the development of rules. So if you're going to set some household rules, get their participation, because then they have greater buy-in.
I think that guideline that you provided too, like what our life should include daily, like getting enough sleep, exercise, doing our schoolwork. So that could kind of be the benchmark too. Like, oh, are you getting enough sleep? Like, are you doing exercise, or is like all of your time spent on, social media and videos?
I was going to play this, but we're running out of time, so I'm not. But I am going to tell you that I got it from Child Mind Institute. And for all things mental health, Child Mind is a fantastic resource. So, final considerations. Take charge. Who's in charge of our technology? The app makers, or are we in charge? And I interestingly heard somebody talking, it was that Matt Stossel saying, you can attempt, or you can have your child attempt to outwit the algorithm. It's better just to delete your app. But if you find you're going back, try to defeat the algorithm. I don't know. That might be a fun game. I don't know how successful one could be. So tech companies, they're fighting for our attention. We are like their product. We're not their customer. We are the product that they are selling. They're buying and selling our attention. We need to protect our brains. So I didn't really talk about this, but there is no doubt that the research is saying that our concentration is kaput, because we are scrolling, we are losing our ability to pay attention and concentrate. Technology is targeting our vulnerabilities. So we have this desire to connect, but we're afraid to connect with other people because we don't want rejection. And this kind of gives us the illusion, so social media gives us, I love this quote, illusion of companionship without the demands of friendship. That's Sherry Turkle, who is a psychologist. Know why you're using your technology. What do you want to get out of it? I love this question, particularly for young women. What do you want to get out of social media, and are you getting that out of it? Is there anything else that's riding along with it that may not be so good? And is there somewhere else you could get that? So, you want validation. Where else could you get that? And all screen time is not equal. what's happening on the screen? Is it communication, real connection, sending texts, having a, relatively worthwhile conversation with friends? Is there creativity? Is somebody making a video on their technology? Is there learning going on? So just because something's on a screen doesn't mean that it's bad. We talked early on about all of the benefits. This is Matt Stossel again, and here he is doing his poetry. It's really fantastic, so I sacrificed that last video so we could watch this one.
Architects of our digital world, stop, be better, because we can be, and we can see that these systems have been designed with intricacy so that companies can keep our attention indefinitely. I don't want to keep crushing these freaking candies. I don't want these alerts to completely command me. I don't care if that panda bear is dancing. Well, maybe. With a hula hoop. Okay, this is fantastic. I have to share this with my 10 friends and 10,000 strangers. Caption, who wants to throw a panda rager? Great, let me go back about my life. For God's sakes, I'm trying to right swipe my wife. Huh. 30 seconds and just 2 Facebook likes. Or is that just 2 for which I've been notified? Let me go back and check inside and see whose likes I tried to hide. They don't show them all, I wonder why. This panda's dancing. And another video plays after automatically. This one of a gopher that stage turns dramatically. It's like my attention is kept systematically raptured by algorithms that know exactly what I want. Or not what I want, just what I'll watch. And the people behind this intelligent design genuinely want to better our lives. But their bonuses just so happen to be tied to keeping time on site exceptionally high. And now even my news apps have been gamified. And what am I, not gonna click that one simple sex tip guaranteed to blow her mind? Wait, where was I? And why have I forgotten to look for that thing I'm supposed to find? And my God, look at the time. It is shocking. But somehow, yes, Netflix, I am still watching. And I know. I should have more self-control. But just to be clear, you just spent $1 million telling me this story designed to cut off at the end, leaving me wanting more. See, of course I want to see what you have in store. See my cursor already waiting there on the screen floor as you tease the next hour in all of its glory. And you'll give it to me, unless I actively abort. See, it seems the decision's already made for me. The countdown clock's moving. There it goes. 5, 4, 3. I need to sleep. But you made me want this more. This is not what I consciously signed up for when I hit play on one episode 6 hours ago. Architects of our digital world, you have more data, information, and control over our attention, the tools to tweak our emotions so we'll return to your experience. But is that what you should do? Or should you build digital tools so advanced they can actually enhance the world outside the device in our hands? Can you add so much value that it lets us put our phones back in our pants as fast as we possibly can? Not time-sucking, time-giving innovation. That's what it means to be truly technologically advanced. The future is not all screens. It's humanity enhanced.
More resources, great stuff here. And that's it. I'm at the end. But I love that video because it's so compelling. Yeah, we got technology, it's not going away, but let's use it differently. Let's use it for good. So I'm trusting in him, counting on him. Well, thank you. Thank you all for being such a small but mighty group.
Thank you.